All right, welcome to another episode of Co-Founders. This is Alex Mont-Roses, and we have Lisa Mont-Roses. And today's topic, again, going back on the theme of, really wrapping up a whole decade, going into a whole new year, 2019. Hopefully everybody had an amazing 19. And if not, hopefully you're positioning yourself to go into 2020 a lot stronger and adding more value if you're in business, right? And you're serving clients and customers. So the one topic I think that we want to touch base on today is really what are the 3 challenges that any new business owner is going to face going into 2020? What are the things you need to really be focusing on? We're going to really hone in on 3 things, and that is, finding new customers, hiring talented people, and ultimately, focusing on building a business, a great business at that. So, let's park ourselves right now and talk about finding customers. That sounds very like, yeah, I get it. Find customers, but it's more complex than that. What do you think? What are the challenges? Somebody going into business. I mean, you have a friend that's literally just launching a business. Okay, and there's these questions that are being asked. What do I need to do? How do I go find customers, right? This is real live stuff happening with people we know that are launching new businesses going into, they've already launched it, but they're still in the very, very infancy stage of a business. So, what needs to happen when you're trying to identify and find a new customer base so that you can grow your business?
I think the first thing is you have to be really clear on what you offer. I think before you even go out and try and find customers, you have to be really, really clear on what you offer and be really clear on who the person is that's going to buy from you. Because, for example, we serve the real estate industry. We're not for everybody. Our customer isn't every single person who sells real estate. We've very clearly defined their volume and the type of person that they are. And then we seek them out, and it may be people within a particular company. It may be, it's people who are like-minded as us, because we want it to be a mutually beneficial relationship. And so I think one of the really big things is know what you do. Be really, really clear on what you do and what you provide, whether it's a product or whether it's a service. And then be really clear on who buys that product. And then you can start to find them. I think then once you know who that person is, it's easier to find them.
Yeah.
And I think in today's world, if there's any business out there that can't find customers, they've got to be doing something wrong. In today's world with social media, you can target, almost down to personality characteristics of people. I know some of the social media platforms actually can target based on that type of stuff, like not just where they live, not just the industry they're in, but also that, are these people who hike? Are these people who do whatever? We've all given our data to social media platforms. Now they're able to target us based on, the quiz I took for which princess I looked most like for Disney princesses or whatever. I answered questions, and now marketers, No, I already know it's Rapunzel.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have to take a quiz. Just so you know, I already knew that.
Oh, okay.
She has green eyes and blonde hair. It's a given. Oh. Although Lillian says I look like Elsa, but
didn't know you're gonna get upset.
Obviously. Obviously, Gru. We know who you look like.
I know, I'm Gru. 100%.
But point is, we've given them our data, and so now people who are marketing can market to a very, very particular audience.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about going into business and you hit on some really good things there, really getting practical and the terminology, just for anybody out there, is really understanding your buyer persona. Like, what is the avatar of this buyer that you need to understand and create, right? And when you understand who that person is, then you can also then develop the customer journey, right? What is this customer going to go through? What's the journey they have to take to eventually get to understand what, why they need what you're offering? And I think a lot of times people rush into business. They don't understand their buyer. They don't understand their buyer persona. They don't understand the customer journey. And then they're trying to figure it out later. And what that does is it stunts your growth. You're asking a lot of questions that could have easily, with a little bit of due diligence up front, really understood out of the gate, and then implemented those, I would say, from a marketing perspective, then implement the content strategy that needs to be in place to then go out and then market to that one specific buyer persona, and understand the journey they're going to go through to eventually get to the place where they're buying something from you, right? So that's number one. You got to understand your buyer persona, and you got to and then map out what is the journey they're going to take to eventually get to you. So that's number one. Number two, hiring talented people. So this is something that is easier said than done, but what are some thoughts around that? What do you think? Like, let's take a step back. If you're starting a business and you're on your own, is it hiring talented people as employees, or is it first understanding how can you outsource things first, which I think I'd probably gravitate towards that, especially in today's world, to do the things that you shouldn't be doing so you can actually grow your business? Go. What do you think?
I feel like I'm in the Miss America pageant. Well, if you look to South Africa. No, what was the question?
So hiring talented people
is the hardest part of running a business. If you're starting into business, yes, you can outsource some things. I think a lot of business owners, and I was one of them, outsourcing terrified me because I took such pride in the quality of what I did, and I didn't feel like somebody else could do it. And I didn't feel like if I outsourced it, someone else could do it. We've learned over the course of the last 4 years that there are things you can outsource, and there are things you need to keep close for quality control. And I think that's what I would call it, is quality control. So it's, and I don't, perhaps a business owner could go into that and know that up front. For us, it was a journey. I think of what can we outsource, what can't we, and I think it's going to continue to be a journey. But I think people need to take that into consideration. You don't have to always hire somebody to fill a position. There may be a company out there that already does what you're looking for. Like, for example, we outsource HR. That's a portion of our business that we outsource at a fraction of the cost of us hiring an HR manager. So that's something you can outsource for. But I think when you're hiring, one of our hard, fast rules, you obviously want to hire people that you get along with because you're going to be working with them. We have a hard, fast rule, though. We don't hire friends, which is tough because I have a couple of friends that I think would do amazing in our business, and I think they would be great, but I love them so much as friends, and I don't want to lose that friendship over business. Right. And so it doesn't matter how good they would be. We won't hire friends. That's something that we absolutely won't do. So it's seeking out talent. I think one of the things we've also learned is that, one of the millions of things we've learned, but even though someone may interview well, and even though someone may have the resume that shows they're going to be amazing at the job, they might not be. And that's okay. It's okay to give people a shot. When you hire someone, you're not committed to them for the rest of your life, for the rest of their life, for the rest of the business's life. Typically you're committed to them for, 90 days. I think that we typically go for a 90-day trial period of, is this a good fit for you, and is this a good fit for us? And sometimes it's them deciding it's not, and sometimes it's us deciding it's not at the end of that 90 days. But you're only committed for 90 days. Like, you're not walking into a marriage when you hire someone. So as much as you want to hire wisely, definitely don't just be hiring people off the street. You want to vet them out. Really, their interview, though, is 90 days. It's a 90-day interview to try out that time period. So you're committed for that long. Yeah, that's good. I think, you hit something on the 90-day. Recently I was listening to a Gary Keller podcast, and he was talking about this very same thing around, you in essence can really afford anybody, because a lot of people get scared, like, oh gosh, the salary, I got to pay somebody whatever, $50,000, $100,000 a year. Well, when you go in the mindset that you're really, again, to your point, hiring them for like a 90-day period, you can afford 90 days of salary and then find out if they're going to work out. And if they don't, it's okay, because, it just doesn't work out. They're no longer with you. You start that process again. Now, yes, does that cost money and time? 100%. Time that you may not have or not want to spend on, okay, now I got to go find somebody else. But the commitment from a dollar perspective is never really the full year salary.
It's always, you should look at the salary in the 90-day period. Can I afford somebody for 90 days? And if I can, great. And then step 2 is then, okay, if they work out, then I need to commit and say, okay, great, it worked out now. I'm getting value, right?
Well, right. And if you're hiring someone for $100,000 a year, they're obviously should be bringing something to the table that's going to help improve your business.
Of course, 100%.
So your revenue should go up by hiring someone at that salary.
Right.
So if after 90 days they've worked out, you should see yourself being ahead of their salary.
Yeah.
Because of them.
Yep, exactly. And then the last part I'll add to this too is, if you do have to hire somebody with that in mind, don't rush. We've made this mistake as a business. I think a lot of businesses have. You're scaling, you're growing, and you're hiring people because you need bodies. And that can really cost you, I mean, tremendously in many ways. So take your time when you're hiring somebody, especially as an employee, and do your due diligence and make sure that it's the right fit. Again, you won't really know until that 90 days is really up, and then maybe even longer. But the point is, do the due diligence up front and don't rush into hiring anybody. Really take the time, because that extra time you spend really understanding why you're hiring this person and making that offer could save you a lot of headache, a lot of time and money in the long run, right? Yeah. And then the last, kind of focus area is, the challenges to face is, have the focus on building a business to grow it into something amazing versus building it to exit. And this is, again, another, I've been listening to a lot of thoughts and kind of opinions on this, and it's really interesting. I think any business owner out there that's really building a business, especially if you're getting capital, right? You're getting VC, you're getting funded, you're all that. Their investors want to get cashed out, right? They potentially want to go IPO. If you're a private company, they want to make money. And then that is their exit to some extent, right? That's the exit, everybody cashed out, and people move on. So, but if you're building a business and you're building to exit the business, eventually sell it, what do you think the challenges are with that?
Well, I don't think you're invested in it. Your heart's not in it. I mean, it's a goal of money, and I think historically, anytime somebody has a goal of just making money, things get shortchanged. You end up, say you have a restaurant, and your goal is to start this restaurant just so you can sell it. Chances are you want the books to look really good. You want to look like your margins are really high. You're going to order cheaper food. You're going to look for cheaper products, so the quality isn't going to be as good. The people that you hire are probably going to be not quite the same caliber. So the quality of the business you're building goes down. I think if your goal is only to sell it, you're not building quality. You're just building something to sell, and your heart's not in it. And I think that shows.
Yeah.
And chances are when you do sell, if that's what ends up happening, you're going to sell for less than you could have if you would have focused more on building a company that someone wants to buy, as opposed to building something just so that someone you can sell it. And I think this all started, it really, and maybe it was more my awareness of building companies to sell them, and that probably came with age, but really the early 2000s, you started hearing about these companies that were only in business for a year, and they sold for a few $1 million or a few, whatever it may be. And I remember when, I think it was Yahoo wanted to buy Groupon for a crazy amount of money, and Groupon said, no, we're not going to sell. And everyone thought they were crazy, because they're like, why wouldn't you sell? I don't understand why you wouldn't sell for this amount of money. And they were like, we're building a company. We didn't build this to sell. But I think
they should have sold.
Well, that's, looking back,
sold,
right. I do still go on Groupon. There are some good deals still on Groupon. I might be the only, I can't be the only person, because it's still around.
Back and they were probably like, we should probably sold.
But their heart was,
yes, I know what you mean.
Was to build a company.
Well, Facebook went through that. A lot of companies go through that today that are, massively successful, right? Because they said no. You got Zappos, not Zappos, but Zappos was sold off to Amazon. But you have Tony Hsieh, right? So he went through these same iterations of understanding the value of building a great company, not just to sell it, but to build a great company and culture, so that when it does get sold, you're actually selling like a diamond.
I just had a really good idea. We should write a book called Because They Said No and feature all of the companies that said no when they got offers to sell and what that created for them. That's a really good idea.
That is a good idea.
I know,
like
don't
that.
steal that, anybody, because we're going to do it.
No.
If someone stole it, though, we have it. Like, I have basically, I trademarked it just now, or whatever.
Yeah. Copyrighted it.
Whatever I did.
Whatever.
I just did something.
You did something. You did something. Yeah.
But that's a good idea, because it would be interesting to see what happened to these companies. And actually, what would be interesting is what companies succeeded because they said no, and what companies ended up, maybe it was the wrong decision.
Yeah, I like it.
Interesting study. Just saying. Somebody should do that.
So it is. I mean, and so to wrap that point up, I think, I mean, if you're going into business in 2020, like really have a long-term view on it and build something amazing that you can change lives with, right? And not just be about the money, because the money will come. That's the one thing we do know. The money does come when you're really focused on building an amazing experience, an amazing company. So those are the three things that if you're going into 2020, really just, consider. Of course, there's many, many, many things to consider, but, this is the optimizing segment of our episode, and I really want to hone in really quick on the first part, and that's finding customers. So really quick and practical advice here. If you're looking to do a buyer persona, literally just Google buyer persona. If you're looking to do what is a customer journey map, just go on Google. There's going to be a million things out there for you to literally take from, understand, and literally just walk through it step by step into building out your own client or buyer persona, as well as your customer journey. If you haven't done that already, get on that ASAP, especially before this year starts, so that you have clarity. If you're already spending money on marketing dollars and you're very unclear on how you stop spending money on marketing, really kind of take a step back, understand your buyer, understand the journey, and then once you have that understanding, go forward with, marketing appropriately and spending your dollars wisely. So that's about it. 2020 is going to be good. I'm excited.
Yeah. It's a new decade.
It is. New decade. See what happens.
I like it. And it's the 20s. Like, the 20s was a fun decade in the 1900s. I mean, I wasn't there, but like until the 20s was kind of...
the Great Depression?
Yeah, but wasn't it like the flapper decade? Like all the flappers and...
Was it swing dancing and all that?
Yeah.
Was that back then in the 20s? I don't know.
I don't know. But the 20s, you hear the 20s.
They just came out of World War I. There's a lot of sorrow and sadness and dust storms going on, right? In the 20s.
Dust storm.
Isn't it the great dust storm that happened in the 20s? It did. In the Midwest.
It might have. But that's very negative. I was talking about flappers and...
I know. Sorry. Go ahead.
Wow. All right. So thank you for joining us. We'll get off of this negative.
2020. Yay. It's
2020. Yay. Dust storms.
2020. No, there will not be any dust storms in 2020.
I mean, there might be. You can't predict that.
You can't. You're right.
Just saying, like,
you can't.
If you're going to say there's not going to be something, let's make it something.
Well, I'm saying it now.
Okay.
There's not going to be a dust storm.
Got it. You heard it here first.
Somebody's going to comment and be like, no, the dust storm is in 1930. Okay, I'm sorry.
We don't know. We don't know what we're talking about.
I don't know when the dust storm happened.
Yeah, we don't know. Okay, so thanks. We'll see you next time on Co-Founders. Wow.
There was a great dust storm.
I feel like there were dust storms this year.
Hold on. 1935. Okay, sorry, I got that wrong, okay? It was in the 1930s. All right.
Did you get that on tape where I said I was wrong? 20s flappers dress. I was right.
Okay.
Did you get that on tape?